Hi, I'm Gayla Scrivener, ex-corporate girl and now work-from-anywhere adventure seeker. Creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle isn't without its challenges, but those challenges certainly don't overshadow all the many benefits. What breaks my heart is seeing folks stuck and unhappy in a career and lifestyle when they want more out of life. I believe that we all have the opportunity to create the life of our dreams and earn a living in fun and creative ways to make our dream lifestyle a reality. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. In this weekly podcast, I share experiences when it comes to growing a lifestyle business through guest interviews, content marketing experience and perspectives, virtual leadership lessons, and I'll even throw in some travel adventures. My hope is through all the interviews, the tips, advice, and personal experience, you'll be inspired and motivated to keep going and creating your dream lifestyle. Life's an adventure. There's no time but the present to live life to the fullest. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here because today I've got a special guest, special to me anyway. We've got audio engineer for Scrivener Solutions, Mr. Robert Scrivener.
Oh, you're too kind.
Oh, I know.
You are too kind.
You're so lucky in that respect.
I am. I don't know about all the titles that you gave me.
Well, you're my husband.
Well.
That's the number one title.
Yeah, we'll keep that up there.
All right. Well, I wanted you on the show. It's been a long time since you've been on the Gayla Scrivener show.
I'm glad you asked me back.
It's hard to track you down to get you interviewed.
I know.
Oh, but I wanted to bring you on because we talk a lot behind the scenes about little hints and things about when new clients come on that they are starting a podcast and when we receive recordings from our clients, some little hints that we give them to make their audio better and make the whole production run more smoothly. And I thought I'd bring you on because last week, can you believe it, was the 150th show of the Gayla Scrivener Show.
Wow. Congratulations.
That's amazing.
That means
you've produced a ton.
I've assembled a bunch of them.
Yes, not only this show, but the Been There Doing That podcast and all of our clients' podcasts. Yeah. So I did not do the tally on how many shows you produce, but it's a lot.
It's got to be over 300 and something.
It's got to be more than that. I know there's just tons.
Pushing 500, I think.
It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty cool. So I wanted to bring you on because people ask me all the time about the equipment, and I am not as knowledgeable. I just use what you give me. So I wanted to ask you about the equipment we use. And first of all, the equipment that I wanted to start with is the recorder.
All right.
What do we have that we record most of our shows on? My solo shows, and we do our Been There Doing That podcast, and what we're recording right now on.
It is a Zoom H6. Zoom H6.
Well, it's a recording unit. Not to be confused with now with all the virtual meetings, like the Zoom.us.
Yeah, totally different. This one is put in your hand, carry it, walk around.
Yeah,
runs off batteries.
I'll have a picture in the show notes of it and a link for an Amazon link if people are interested in it. But this is an older version. We've had this for
almost 4 years.
4 years. Why the Zoom H6, Robert?
I like it because it's flexibility to use in a musical setting because it has more than 2 outputs or inputs, however you want to look at it. Inputs for microphones. Most of them are 1 or 2. So you and an interviewer or interviewee, however you want to put it. And then this one here has up to 6 with an adapter.
So you mean 6 microphones can plug into this little tiny device, handheld device?
Yes.
Because you're a musician and that was important to you.
Yeah, it has an adapter that you can put on the front of it and add 2 more, but it has 4 built into it.
We have our microphones that are like the music microphone cords. What are those called?
XLR.
XLR. What's the microphone that you plug in on top? That's a special thing.
Well, there's adapters, bunches of them. You could get a shotgun microphone. It's long and skinny and very directional, or you can get I think it's called a mic side, where it's kind of all around ambient noises. And then you got your smaller directional.
Why do you like that? You said the flexibility. You use it with music.
Yep, you can get a decent live recording of a band by setting it up, running it through the board, micing certain things that you want to have a good recording of.
You have recorded, what is it called, field recording? What's all that about?
Standing out in the field. Listening to the birds chirp and the cows moo and stuff.
Well, you've gotten some really cool recordings from our camping trips with the Coyotes band and all of that.
Owls hooting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You put it on
nature sounds.
You put it on SoundCloud, don't you?
Yep, I do.
And this thing does not plug into the wall.
No wall wart. It's
You said wall wart, and I didn't understand what you meant. It's the plugger in or thingamajig.
The thing, you plug it into the wall. You know, it does not have one of those. Has to be proprietary. It runs off AA batteries. Four of them.
Mm-hmm. So just having AA's, and that's been handy for us. Because when we travel, our studio can be anywhere. And
it fits in one little case.
We have the microphones in another little case. And we have done interviews out and about at events.
Yes, on the spot.
And that has been handy. We don't have to worry about power. We just have our AA's.
As long as they're charged.
Oh, yeah.
I'm brand new. That helps.
Brand new. Now, not everybody might not want to get a Zoom recorder. You don't have to have a separate device. You can record it. Some people record into a podcast right into their phone.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest having a microphone for that, not just having a speakerphone. And some people use the recording software that's on their computers. And that is just fine. And for interviews, what's very popular, not to be confused with the Zoom H6, which is older, by the way, there's newer models.
Got the Zoom H8.
Are you pining for that?
Well,
there's
it's up to 8 inputs. That's where the number comes up.
Oh.
This is H6, so I can have them up to 6.
Well,
I make a H4 too.
You were showing me a YouTube video about that they're really going into podcasting on these little Zoom recorders.
Yes.
That they're really catering to that, to where you can mix.
Yep.
Not mix it.
Yeah, you can have all your levels ready. Just take it out of the chip and put it in, and you're ready to upload it.
Oh, speaking of chips, all the audio is recorded onto an SD card. You just pop that out.
And now you can get a lot of audio on a 16 gig.
Oh my goodness, we've never filled it up. I usually record a few episodes and then I take out the SD card and then load it into our podcast files and in Dropbox and our external files. So many of the interviews out there for podcasts are recorded on Zoom.us. You know, where all the virtual meetings are happening. And
kind of like Skype.
It's kind of like Skype. Since that pandemic thing happened, pretty much everybody knows what Zoom is. And you can record on that. And you can actually have a free version of Zoom and record a one-to-one meeting as long as you want it. There are settings that you should really be aware of when you use Zoom software, that you need to go into the settings and be sure to record on separate channels. How come, Robert?
Makes my life easier.
Makes the editing so much easier.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you can, if there's noise in the background of either one of them, you can eliminate that by when you go into post-production.
It's important to have different channels for different people. Because sometimes, especially when you're in different...
Some people are louder. Some people are not as loud.
And when you're recording on Zoom, on one side, there could be some loud noise and somebody, or talking over somebody else, and you can mute that other person.
When they're not talking.
I know that you have some funny stories, but there's been some heavy breathers that you've had to mute so that it wouldn't be distracting for the other person. And there was this one recording that virtually sounded ruined. Do you remember that?
I must have took therapy, but No, I don't.
It was for the Cookware Manufacturers Association. There was one recording that when we got it and it was a merged thing, it was all garbled. Every time one of the people was talking, that it was so garbled, our client thought that it was ruined. It was just ruined. But they recorded in 2 separate channels, and it saved it. It didn't. That weirdness did not happen in the separate channels. And see, when Zoom.us records, and you can record in separate channels, but here's the trick. You can't record to the web in separate channels. You have to record to your device, your computer, because when you hit record, it'll ask you either computer or on the web. My suggestion is do it onto your computer, and then when the recording's over, it's going to download not only the separate audio files, you and everybody else talking, but also a merged file and the video file. There's just a lot of
there
files.
You go.
And my suggestion is don't have too many people on the interview. It gets really complicated when you have 3 or more.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just kind of a word of advice. Why don't you tell folks we have 2 of the same microphones?
Yes, they are the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 USB microphones.
What I like about them is that they're USB and what are these called?
XLR.
XLRs.
You'll get there.
I'll get there. I'm not the techie person that way.
And it has a headphone input at the bottom.
Yes, with volume for the headphones. I like it because you can use it with the XLR. Did I say it right?
You did.
XLR cord, which is like a traditional microphone cord. And I use it all the time when I am needing to use Zoom on the computer. It has better audio than the computer built-in microphone.
Way better. Way better.
Now, there's a couple of different, and I never knew to even look for this, but there's differences in microphones. Not all microphones are created equal.
That is true.
There's what's called directional.
Which is wherever you point it, it's going to be picking it up.
Is that what these are?
Pretty much.
So you have to have your mouth kind of closed?
Yeah.
Or,
It'll still pick up, but if you're on the back side of it, it won't pick up as much.
So just have it in front of you.
Yep. You can talk across it or into it.
What's better? Into it?
Well, if you're talking across to it, you're not going to be popping your P's and T's. And
that's a good thing.
Of course, you got a pop filter on it, too.
Yeah, we do.
Right there.
And then there's omnidirectional.
Picks up everything.
In the whole room.
Yeah, kind of like a condenser microphone.
So the condenser...
It can be omnidirectional and pick up everything.
Well,
kind of like when you see one bluegrass band and there's one microphone and they're all playing around it.
Yeah.
That's a condenser microphone.
Really? So that it can just pick up everything.
Yep.
Versus the vocals mic, which is probably...
In a rock band,
yeah,
each one has their own microphone.
Okay. Would you suggest when somebody is buying a microphone to have directional or omnidirectional?
I like directional because you can control it. Because you may have a clock ticking on the wall back there it's picking it up.
We've had that happen. You hear it in the background. Yes. We had purchased a little microphone. We were on our travels, but we purchased it so that we both could be talking at the same time and not passing a microphone back and forth. And I'll have the link to that. I think it's a Samsung. Samsung, sorry.
I think that's what it is. We got it in Indiana.
It's a nice little one, and it is weird. I don't care to use it. We hardly ever use it.
It is also got a switch on there for like a 10 dB attenuator to bring down if you're too noisy. And it's also got a switch for omnidirectional, so you can pick up all the way around it, or it has a switch for the directional.
We got
So you might get your switches mixed up maybe.
Yeah.
Flip the switch.
There's a lot of people that have really good microphones, but they struggle with the sound because they didn't realize it was omnidirectional. It's picking up it's super sensitive and it's picking up everything. So for a
shuffling papers and everything and clicking on the mouse, you hear that.
And it's a good idea to have a microphone stand so that you're not
holding it and
scratching on it and
going like
that
right there.
Getting that stuff away. And you don't have to be fancy. I mean, these microphones came with a stand.
Mm-hmm.
Came with the cords.
Yeah.
Both the USB and the XLR. I'll get it.
Excelsior. It's one way to remember it.
Well, we've got microphones. We've got what to record into. One thing that my brother, who was a DJ for years, when I told him that I was doing a podcast, he's like, well, I bet you don't do one thing. And I was like, what? He told me, I bet you don't use headphones. And I said, ha, I do too.
Uh-huh.
Why should we use headphones?
So you can hear the other person better, person that you're interviewing.
Yes.
You can hear yourself.
Yes.
You can kind of mix it right there so you don't have to do as much in post-production.
Yeah. Getting the dinky little earbuds, probably not as good.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to have the big old, you have much better headphones.
I do a lot of audio stuff.
You do.
You need these.
Yeah.
And I need to upgrade.
Oh, I get your hand-me-downs.
Yeah,
I see.
You like my hand-me-downs.
Well, what are your headphones?
Skull Candy, yes. I remember that. And I don't remember what the model name was. Hold on, I'll tell you. Crusher.
Oh, okay.
Wireless. They are also Bluetooth, but you can plug a dedicated cord into them.
They're Bluetooth and they're rechargeable.
Yes.
They're cordless.
Soft on the ears, not hard.
Mine are very reasonably priced.
Yes.
Sony's.
Mine were over $200, but that was with warranty too.
But that was an investment because that's what you do. You're the audio engineer.
I hear better out of these than I do those.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still hear yourself out of yours.
Yes.
They're just more travel friendly.
Mine's travel friendly, but
not Bluetooth either.
My ears are not as sensitive. When you edit, you hear things that I don't hear, regardless of what headphones you have. But it's a good idea to block out the rest of the world and have headphones on. Now, when I do Zoom recordings on the computer, I have earbuds in, and it's not as good. But I do that because I might use the video. I never have, but
you might.
I might. And I thought instead of having big old earphones on. Now, let's talk about your earphones are Bluetooth.
Yes.
But do you ever use them as Bluetooth?
Only when listening to music.
Why?
Because if you're editing on...
or recording on your computer.
There's a latency issue. You see my lips moving, and then you hear the audio, or you hear the audio first and then see the lips move.
And when you're doing an interview on the computer, and so you're on Zoom doing a Zoom meeting.
Over wireless.
Don't do it over wireless.
No.
You can invest in a wired microphone at the very, very minimum.
Yep.
And then you can have your guest, if all they can afford are earbuds, wired earbuds with a microphone. That's better than the echoey computer
Sounds
audio.
like you're setting way off.
Mm-hmm. And I had somebody quite some time ago, they got on my Zoom call and they thought, I'm just going to use my phone for this interview. And they put it on speakerphone and it was terrible. And I said, we're not recording because I can hear everything, and it was echoey.
Yeah.
So have your guests have earbuds at the minimum with a microphone plugged in, not wireless. Don't go the wireless route, I'm thinking.
Okay. That's a minimum requirement.
Minimum requirement. That's not asking too much.
Dollar store has earbuds, don't they?
But they don't have a microphone.
No microphone.
That's the biggest equipment, but the software that we use for editing is Adobe Audition. Why do we use that?
That's what we have.
Use what we have. We have the whole Adobe Creative Suite, and that's
what we have.
Yeah. You're a photographer. You use the Lightroom and Photoshop and all of that. And Premiere is their video. You're into our travel videos. Would you say that editing a podcast or a video, which is easier?
Well, definitely podcast.
How come?
Usually video. Well, I heard that for every 10 minutes of footage that you're editing on video, you got about an hour's into it.
Wow. That's probably the truth, because I know you work very hard on the videos. And then
some of it just flows together, and then some of it you hit like a wall and say, oh.
Walk away.
Lunchtime yet?
Well, what do you do? Well, I do some editing, and some of our clients, I do the filtering of the uhs and ums, because during a podcast recording, maybe there's too much space, pausing in between.
Tightening it up.
Just tighten it up. But there are folks that have a lot of uhs and a lot of ums.
They get nervous.
They do. And then you had what is the phrase that sometimes that you've been trying to break me of? And
It doesn't sound like and
What does it sound like?
I'm dumb.
I know. You
gently
tell me not to say that, and I'm slowly but surely learning and not saying and nearly as often as I used to.
Shock collar would work too.
Hey, I'll shock collar you.
Yeah, I bet you would.
I don't know. Is that like workers? I don't know. There's probably laws against that.
I guarantee there's laws against wives shock collaring their husbands.
Well, anyway, don't know if that will be edited out or not.
Well, we'll find out.
For many of our clients, I will do the initial edit because I help write the blog post and the show notes and things like that. So as I'm listening, I'll take out the uhs and ums and tighten it up. And
for me, that's a quick job.
You're quicker at it than
I just have to listen to the entire podcast, but I can take them out pretty quick.
Yes. And I do it because if I need to write the content with it, I might as well listen to it and just go through it once. Yeah. And I've gotten pretty good because you have taught me how to cut and what to cut. I don't mess with anything else but cutting. Oh, and I have learned how to save just one little clip because we use...
What?
Yes. Highlight it and then do a save as clip or selection. That's what it is. And I do that so that our team can pull out that clip and they use this app called Headliner app. They make an MP4, a little video. And so they have that clip and then they have the show visual and then it goes into social. And it's really nice. So it's not the whole podcast that's the recording that's in the social. It's just a little clip. And Brandy puts it in like...
you're name dropping.
Oh, I know. Everybody knows who Brandy is. She puts it in Instagram stories, and then Sharon puts it over on Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it. So I only do that. But you do things like normalizing. What is all of that?
Normalizing, bringing it up to everything's all this pretty much same level.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other day I did a recording.
All your high peaks, anyway. Your loud peaks will be up to a normalized level, but not over that because that would be distortion.
Speaking of peaks, when you record into like our Zoom H6, there's a little bit of a display, and you can
tell. A bar
tell.
graph.
It's a bar graph.
It's a VU meter.
And you can tell when you're in the green, you're in the yellow. But if you start peeking out, like if you have your volume too much and you're too much in the red, it's hard to fix that, isn't it?
You can't fix distortion once it's recorded.
Really?
Kind of like focus with photography. Can't fix focus once it's done taking.
That's a phrase that's said many a times in our household. Yeah. Can't fix focus.
Yeah.
I'm a spray and pray type of photographer, and Robert just works with what he gets.
Yeah. I get quantity sometimes. There'll be one in there.
There'll be one in there. Sometimes I get some really good ones. So being aware of how loud you are and not being in the red. And I would much rather record on this external Zoom H6 type thing than recording straight into Adobe Audition, which people can if they have software like, what did you say, GarageBand?
Yeah, you can do that. There's several of them out there.
There's several of them. And you can record right into that, and you'll see the ups and downs. That just distracts me, and I kind of stare at it, and I get lost. So I'd rather just set my volume, I'm not going to be distorted, so I'll just move on. People need to be aware of when they're in the red, and that can't be fixed.
Nope, cannot be fixed. Once it's distorted, it's distorted.
So, are there any other tips that you can think of for while you're recording what you need to be mindful
of? People working outside in a construction zone near your house. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Loud cars in the background.
You find a quiet place.
Yep, quiet as you can.
But don't let it stop you. You don't have to have perfection. Because you will...
That's where the directional microphones will come in handy.
Yeah.
You may pick up some room noise, but it's going to be pretty much pointed at your mouth or the interviewer's mouth.
Mm-hmm. And you just have to get used to doing. You learn by doing. And if your first podcasts are not perfect, that's okay. You can just improve from there, right?
That is correct.
There's one thing that I know is helpful, and you have trained me to do, that if I flub up, just to pause for a while and then start over.
Yeah.
And try not to start over too quickly. It's okay to take a breather for a little bit, because that's going to help your editing process so much better.
People forget that they can edit this. Some people don't edit a podcast, I guess.
I guess not.
And like to take out the spaces in there and tighten it up some, but somebody's being interviewed and they take 30 seconds to think of an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and if you mess up, you can just pause.
Yep.
And then you can start over your train of thought and just keep the recording going, because that can be cut out later.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know in some of the interviews that I have, and heck, maybe in this interview, there'll be sections of things that's like, man, that just didn't flow very well. I didn't say it very well. And it was great just to cut that piece out and focus on the person I'm interviewing instead of me talking. So.
Yes, there you go.
There you go. Well, thank you, Robert, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah.
I must have done okay.
You must have. Maybe I'll ask you back again someday.
Oh.
Maybe.
Maybe.
You know what we have available?
What's that?
For anybody that is thinking about creating a podcast, or if they already have a podcast in production.
Yes.
And they want to see how Scrivener Solutions does it.
Uh-huh.
I have this whole checklist.
Keep going.
It's free.
Huh.
It is. So all you have to do is go to scrivenersolutions.com/podcast checklist. It's that simple.
It is that simple.
Then you know our whole checklist that we do for every single episode. So
it's not small.
It isn't. But it grew over time because we got better at it, and that's what we do for our clients. And it might be very helpful to you, whether you're starting out or whether you're in production right now. So I encourage everybody to go to scrivenersolutions.com www.directional.com/podcast checklist. Well, thanks again, Robert.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening, and until next time, have a fantastic week.